maybe we can spend another few minutes on inviting concluding comments from the scholars, not on any particular presentation, unless you want to, but more rather on the event as a whole, what we could do to have it better in, let us say, if we repeat it next year, how do we get a wider range of young scholars? And also, we've had, except perhaps for this last presentation and also Akhilesh's, we've had, a lot of scholars commenting on a particular text. We have not had scholars trying to harness current mathematics to reinvestigate some older problems, and that would be, of course, another very interesting line of contributions. What is it that we can do to make this event more wide-ranging? And not that, I'm extremely happy with the way it happened, and we had excellent presentations, no doubt, and we can just have confirmation of this in the chat box from many people. But I would like to have, and maybe we should start, maybe if I can mention a few names. Professor Sriram, would you like to give us your thought on this? What can we do to have a better, and if we are out of this pandemic, maybe we can have a greater number of presenting young scholars. I'm still thinking of young scholars.
I really don't know. Really don't know. Very difficult. Very difficult to attract, and that is rather one should keep trying. That's all I can say.
Fine. Well, that's an important piece of advice. Professor Ramasubramaniam.
See, the only thing that I would suggest is try to promote with fellowships for more young scholars to take up this subject matter seriously. That is all I will just say. See, this is not something which can happen very quickly unless we make people work and we attract very bright minds to take up this subject. So this is what I have been saying, and I would like to repeat that. So we have to devise schemes by which we will be able to attract bright minds to take up these kinds of studies. So then only I think we'll be able to have more number of scholars making presentations. Otherwise, I think it's a bit difficult as of now.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ram. We fully agree with this. And in fact, under our HOMI project, we have opened and we've even advertised for postdoctoral fellowships. We made an experiment of advertising in mainstream maths networks, current science, etc. And we were advertising for people with PhD in mathematics or physics or computer science. We could not retain a single application. So there is this gap, of what I always refer to as missed generation. And it was an international call, by the way. It was not at all limited to Indian candidates. So we have to keep trying, no doubt. We are offering fellowships at the postdoctoral level. Even we could do at the master's level. PhD requires a little more care. We're not close to it, but this would require for each particular case to work out a modality of supervision. But this is also among the possibilities. So yes, I absolutely agree with your advice. May I request Clemency and Kim in turn to give us their thoughts?
I'd be happy to put in just a couple of ideas. First, I really enjoyed this very much and was very impressed by the caliber of the talks. And it is the sort of thing that I really would like to see disseminated, at a wider scale in other forums. I mean, it's something that always strikes me when I go to large meetings on the joint mathematics meetings of the AMS and MAA in the US, for example, that they're really, the discussion of there's quite a bit of discussion of history of math, many of it at a very interesting level. And, it's great, again, to have the opportunity to reach out to mathematicians who are very interested, but there is seldom, a lot of discussion of Indian mathematics, or at least not, to the extent that could certainly be supported by what we've got. So I'm thinking maybe a silver lining to the whole pandemic situation could be that, opportunities for people to attend such conferences remotely might become easier to get, because I know it's a challenge to apply from overseas to go to an American conference, and but if it could be done remotely, then I think that could just raise the profile of all these activities to an interesting extent. And I think in many cases, historians of mathematics outside India are just, and this is true for, China as well, for other countries, people are just too hesitant about going where the research is. But I think if, we make connections of, people in the US, in Europe, on the Pacific, then, we might be able to have this communication, and it might improve chances of, the throughput of applicants for things like funded positions. Because I think to many people, going to India or going to China is an unknown quantity, then, they just don't. It's, they simply don't know what they could be getting out of it.
Thank
I
you.
will say, in terms of the remote conferencing, certainly it's the time zone difference, as I'm feeling right now, does make it a bit challenging. If somebody is going to be giving a talk that's at 9 a.m. in the American time zone, then that would be tough to do remotely, but easier than the travel, at least. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Clemency.
I think part of the approach could be having a really exciting and inspiring undergraduate offering as to reach out to as many students as we can. And if they don't, it's not that you want to get everybody to suddenly switch their majors to more history of mathematics, but it becomes seen as something that's of interest and worth, and you'll get a whole lot of supporters, as well as you'll pick up a couple of students here and there that may want to take it more. So I think having a presence in the undergraduate curriculum at as many places as you can is key to spreading, to building the discipline.
Thank you. Excellent advice. Yes, we have slightly thought about it, but we have not been able to really make a beginning there. So thank you.
Yeah, Michelle, actually,
Yes.
you even IIT Gandhinagar, you should start, the course, at least elective course in Indian mathematics.
Yes.
Indranath Sengupta, Sudipta Sarkar, and Atul Dikshit, they can start a course. What is, how about that? We have done that,
I mean, yes, there is your course, isn't there? I mean, the course that the three of you put together as at IIT
NPTEL
Bombay
lecture.
and Madras, and I mean that is
NPTEL
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
And we've been sharing those videos here also with a few more faculty who have who have shown some interest. So I have given all the links and selectively also selected some of them for specific topics. So yes, this could be the basic reference material. You're right, absolutely. We will work on this, Sriram, and I hope that you will be heard by our colleagues. Excellent.
See, just 1 minute, I don't want to monopolize, see, the reception seems to be mixed, See, like in IIT Madras, says there is a lot of enthusiasm for his course. Okay. So then Pai also says, he says in IISER Pune, he has offered many times. Of course, apart from Ram Subramaniam, is known. IISER Pune, Pai has been offering. That also he says lot of people are enthusiastic. In IIT Bhubaneswar, last 2 years we tried, first year, myself, Pai, MD Srinivas and Ram Subramaniam, okay. Somehow the reception was very not up to the mark. And the next year, even less so, less response. So I don't know how to generate, So people should keep trying it, I suppose.
I think we have to work towards the point where, as part of the, for example, master's MSc curriculum in mathematics, there should be one component at least.
Yeah.
BSc, I don't know, why not, introductory level, but MSc certainly there should be one paper on history of mathematics in India. That would certainly help to build up some interest. I mean, we will need to now seriously discuss these questions and try to see what can be done to the curriculum. And as Clemency said, throw openings to even at the undergraduate level. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, Dr. Kichen Swami, you've taken a lot of interest in our event. Would you like to offer some thoughts on this?
Yes, so I agree that with what Kim Plofka said, that the remote conferencing is an opportunity. It's relatively easy to organize, and about the teaching, there are two issues. One is that this is something that I've experienced. I mean, I've actually taught for some years a course in history of mathematics, not just Indian, in all of mathematics. And I think it's important to this is the point of view that you have taken, that it should be all of mathematics, not an Indian niche, and that's not the point. I mean, that we are interested in understanding mathematics for students that correspond to the third year of the licence in French. So that would be upper level undergraduates, more or less. And one thing which is important, which was already stressed by Tannery, which is that if you want to establish the history of mathematics as a subject, there must be ways of evaluating performance. And one thing which works is that you can give people mathematical text to analyze. And they are able to do that, especially if it's in their own language. In French, there are many things. Even in English, there are things that you can, one doesn't have to, if you have to learn Chinese or Sanskrit, of course, it's going to be a bar. But people can do that. The second issue is that it's more fundamental, and it corresponds to things that have been, there's an SOS that has been in the chat, that is that the level of elementary teaching is dropping. And I think that the basic reason why this is so, I think it is a worldwide phenomenon, is that mathematics tends to be taught, especially at the very elementary level, as something which is dogmatic, that people have to accept things. And in my experience, when students are bad, it's not that they don't understand, it's that they rebel against a form of dogmatism. And it's a form of resistance. And it's very difficult, but if you talk to them, if you try to get them to express what they really think, then something can be done. And the importance of history is that I think that it's important, as a working mathematician myself, but I think it's extremely general. History is important not because it tells us about the past, but because it defines mathematics. Because if you start saying, for example, if you teach, there are mathematical teachers in India that tell me that they have.
Okay. He says she will talk to them and let herself out somehow. Okay. Because they are going to become a sadi for that his daughter.
Should I with the professor?
Sorry, some interference.
If you, for instance, there are teachers in India that tell me that they have to say that Euclid invented geometry or is the father of geometry, things like that. I mean, Westerners don't say that. The Greeks don't say that. If you look at the Eudaimon summary, I mean, if you look at Proclus, all the Greeks say that they whether it's true or not, that they got their mathematics from Egypt. Read Herodotus. We don't know. Of course, Democritus says that he's very proud that he can do as well as the Hapedonaptai. Hapedonaptai are people who stretch ropes, and with proofs, with apodeixis. What apodeixis means, proof or diagrams, that's not so clear. So they don't say that they invented everything. And we don't know exactly whether they got it from Egypt or people that they believe are Egyptians, so that's not an issue. But if you start telling Indians that they have to accept some foreign dogma that comes from the 19th century that Westerners don't believe in anyway, so it's complete nonsense. So the issue of the definition of mathematics is a moot point, and it is rooted in history. Because if you don't take a dogmatic view, let's say that we know that there are, Platonism or whatever, pseudo-Platonism, if you don't assume that things exist and exist independently of history or social conditions, then of course you have already, there's no room for criticism. But if you try to look at things as they are, then they are given to us in a historical progression. So we have to examine that progression to see whether there is really something constant that is something that can be turned into an absolute, or whether this is something more complicated. And this is something we have to do together. And together, the epistemology is something that should involve both professional mathematicians and historians. And this is something that can be done, and that is being done. And the first thing, and this is what has been done by many people here, the senior and junior people, that is to see what the texts actually say. And we do not understand, even the most famous texts are not clearly understood. We don't, even the case of the Yukti Bhasha is a case in point. I mean, in 1834, I guess, people knew that these things existed. For 2 centuries, they said, we are not going to look at them because we have decided that they're not worth. Maybe they are stupid, but at least we should have the text. That should be the least that should be asked. Maybe we'll find out that the whole thing comes from Greece or from Mars or whatever. I don't care. But I want to have the text. And I was personally able to work on the text because they became available to me in the late 1990s. Before that, I sought for them for 30 years in my career. I didn't find the text. So there is something, the bottom ground of mathematics, as far as I can tell, lies in history. If you start telling people, for instance, the notion of angle is something that is only exists in the Hellenistic mathematics, and it was rejected by Bourbaki. If you read what Dieudonné said about the notion of angle, he said that this is something that's really wrong, and he gives mathematical reasons. There are counterexamples showing that there are things that you just can't do. So history can be useful, but it has to be a real history where you use real text, that you say what people actually say, and you don't leave you bring in non-mathematical issues only when they're relevant. And that's hero worship is not a part of a proper historical understanding as it is done now. So since
I may have. No.
I think my point is.
I noticed that our audience is dwindling down, and I would like to offer the last thought to Dr. Malaya, who has himself contributed some significant research in history of mathematics, and he has been raising his hand. And then we will try to simply, absorb all these suggestions and work on them as much as we can. Dr. Malaya, you had a suggestion, please.
Thank you, Professor Michel. I would like to suggest offer summer projects for students and give an institutional base. That is one thing I have to suggest. Okay. And I would like to appreciate the efforts taken by Professor Michel and your team for organizing an exclusive program like this for encouraging young scholars. This is also a positive step. The peculiarity I find here is that the young scholars are given ample time to present their work, and it is set apart for their presentation only, exclusively, with all the stalwarts giving their patient hearing with their expert comments and valuable suggestions in the end. Usually in most of the conferences, I have found that long durations are being given to seniors for their talks in each technical session, followed by a very small paper reading session towards the end for the beginners. In these situations, they get merely 5 minutes or so for their presentation with practically no time for any discussion after that. In such programs, they remain mere spectators for most of the time. Of course, I agree that they get a lot of information from their seniors. Professor Michel, you and your team have done a wonderful job by giving the younger generation the due importance they deserve for making their presentations. And I think all those who have presented here will feel extremely happy and get motivated from the encouragement that you have given. I have seen it in my own case. It gives me great joy to see so many young scholars with such a short notice present their work with so much of enthusiasm. I congratulate all the young scholars for making excellent presentation here. Younger generation are definitely more capable and equipped with more tools, and once they are in the field, I am sure that they can apply the ancient techniques to modern situation and build bridges between the past and the present and future for their onward journey to a golden future from a golden past. And the encouragement that you have given is the type of encouragement that the younger generation needs. So with such type of encouragement, I think youngsters can come into this field, and there is no need to feel that they will not come.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malaya.
Thank you so much.
And yes, you're right. It was exactly our objective that we would have stalwarts and scholars of various countries joining us and offering their comments. And I do hope that the young scholars benefited, I'm sure. So thank you all. It's already past 1 o'clock in India, of course. And I'm not sure in France and New Zealand and US. We are very grateful to not only the presenters, but those who spent their time yesterday and today and gave their comments for the presentations and for taking this event further in future. So we'll work on all the suggestions, and I do hope we will have very soon at IIT Gandhinagar a proper course on history of mathematics in India. Atul, Indranath, I'm sure they've been listening, Sudipto also. We'll have to meet up and design something. So thanks to the whole, I should not thank my own colleagues and the whole HOMI team, but I will. And I think it was a promising first event of its kind, and we must push on from here. Indranath, Atul, Sudipto, would you like to not give a formal vote of thanks? We don't do that.
Actually, Professor Malaya has given a vote of thanks.
Yes.
So I don't think anything more is needed. And what all the seniors have suggested are absolutely, that's exactly what we need to work on. So we all know it's very difficult. And especially I quite agree with Kim that we were thinking that organizing it in person would probably be better, may not be, because these travel challenges are there. I mean, it was always there and it would continue to be there. So probably later on, we would be thinking of a hybrid mode where it would be online and in person both. Okay, so it shouldn't be, people should get a chance to speak, that's it. And absolutely agree with Dr. Malaya. Actually, this time we thought that we would reverse the roles. The experts would be listeners and the youngsters would be talking. And in fact, more than that, we need the experts to give comments. In fact, that's exactly what we have already said. And in fact, that would be enriching, I mean, like the youngsters, they can learn from these experts' experience, their knowledge base, everything. So absolutely so, and we hope to run it again. If not very soon, soon. Thank you.
Atul?
So, Michelle, nothing new to add. I think it has already been by all of the senior speakers. Indranath,
You're not audible to me, Atul. You're not. You were at the start, not now.
Am I now?
Weekly.
Okay, I just wanted to say that everything has been said by the senior speakers, and also Indranath nicely summarized what are the next steps we have to take. So, because of the audio problem, also, I think I won't say much, but it was a great experience to listen to all of the talks here by the young scholars. Yeah.
Sudipto, you have the last word.
Well, that's a bit scary, but anyway, so I thoroughly enjoyed sitting here from the eye of, I'm only considering myself as a student of the subject and also a very novice student. Okay. So there are really very interesting words and ideas exchanged here. I really like to appreciate the idea that we should we should be inclusive, and not only the history of Indian mathematics, understand Indian mathematics in the perspective of the history of entire mathematics and probably the history of ideas. So if we can create a history of mathematics course at the elective level and also history of science courses, these are people are giving such courses. I see more and more my colleagues in physics talking about such courses in different ICERs. As you know, these are ICERs institute, new institutes in India. And uh, it, it's actually quite possible to attract students. And unless we actually attract students, particularly young students at the UG level and the PG level, I mean, nothing is going to succeed. So maybe a small start could be to think rigorously about such courses. I'm not capable, but there must be more capable people in the community who can take up these challenges. And another important point is that we have to maintain the continuity. One single conference, one single program in 2 years is not going to add up much. We must create a community of people, exchange ideas. Okay, this is something I believe is absent in India, not only in the history of mathematics, but rather in many other subjects also, including traditional sciences and mathematics. There is no research group. And without the research group, we are not going to survive. So hopefully, this is just the beginning and we can achieve such things. Thanks.
Thank you.
So that was the last word, therefore I will not add to it, except simply to say that in a couple of days, we will announce the prizes that we have decided upon. I know it's going to be very difficult to decide, but we'll take feedback from some of you, and then we will have to take a decision as fair as possible, hopefully. So with this, again, my thanks to all the speakers, the scholars, and everyone else. And I should not forget to mention that we had at least, I counted almost 6 or 7 of our own faculty, apart from our team, who listened in for much of the time. So that was also very encouraging. So with this, we can close the event, I believe. Thanks again to all, and we will be in touch. Thank you. Namaste.